having my background in dentistry has been such a huge advantage, I think, and it's just been a really beautiful journey for me because I have a really unique perspective and a true appreciation for everyone involved. And as I've kind of learned and developed my own skills, I'm able to take a step back, and when I teach, I can kind of see the entire, orchestra being put together. And so I don't just hyper focus on the technical skill anymore. When you're first learning a skill, you do because you want everything to be executed perfectly. But then once you really get comfortable with that skill, you can take that step back and you can start noticing all those nuances. And, for dentists, for doctors that go to a lot of these CE programs, they're still in the trenches of learning the skill. So they want to make sure that they are as proficient as possible, which is understandable. But then if they go home and they're not able to really execute it in a meaningful way and not bring their team along, that's where a lot of doctors will kind of hit a wall, or maybe they'll see limitations to what they can accomplish. And so I really love my unique perspective for that. And I love, just kind of getting doctors to step outside their own mind every once in a while and, not get so hyper-focused and not, measure everything by every little millimeter and be like, you're doing great. You can be really encouraging and encourage them to bring their team along with them. I love bringing in my background with clinical research and cell and molecular biology. You don't want to get too crazy into it because then you make decisions that maybe aren't like clinically relevant, but it does help you troubleshoot and help you recognize what's important and what maybe can be compromised a little bit. The beautiful thing about Pathways is that they have really wonderful mentors from just a wide variety of backgrounds and experiences. And so to put us all in the same room is really unique, because then you'll get the people who have a lot more like anecdotal clinical evidence, and then you'll have more of the hard sciencey people, and you put it together and it's that beautiful orchestra we talked about. It allows the mentees and the students that are there to really absorb little pieces from everyone's background and troubleshoot in a way that will actually turn into beautiful outcomes for the patient. When you look at a patient comprehensively, you really, like I said, you want to have the end in mind always. So you start with the concept or the idea of whatever the patient's ideal outcome is, and everyone's different, but the fundamentals are still the same. So you want to have stability, comfort, function, and then aesthetics, and all of those things put together. It's not just the old days of dentists are tooth mechanics, right? We are the physicians of the mouth. We are trying to create a really complex system that functions for a patient's lifetime. So having all of those different backgrounds with different CE, variables is really helpful, because then you don't get that narrow-minded kind of tunnel vision that we talked about before. It's really easy to kind of get stuck and get complacent with just like one type of practice or one type of idea of treatment planning, and having a little bit more diversity and more tools in your toolbox is really what's going to help you create, just really beautiful, healthy smiles. Whenever you're learning new skills and you're a high performer if you're a dentist, so you always want to practice at your best. So really staying diligent and making sure that you're staying on top of the best practices in your field. You will just continually gain confidence as long as you remain diligent that way and remain passionate and excited about it. One of the best things, which I think Pathways does such a great job at, is surrounding you with a community of just support. So making sure that you're surrounded by the right people has been not only important in life, just life in general, but in this professional career as well. That can sometimes be isolating, but really surrounding yourself with the right people who will encourage you and truly encourage you and be your greatest cheerleaders as you're trying to be your best self. I mean, there's just like absolutely nothing better than that. One of the ways that I put my own experience into Implant Pathways, but also, what we've seen as they're building their faculty mentors and how they create their learning environment is everything is very intentional and very thoughtful, which I think is really important. It's not just shoving people in a room and being like, good luck, learn the things. It's very thoughtful. It's very intentional. They put people together with different backgrounds and different experiences, and also different practice styles, which is really helpful. So you put people in the same room that naturally maybe they wouldn't be in the same room, and it starts conversations that is really helpful for students, but then I get I always learn when I'm there as a mentor, which is like amazing. It's you're learning something new every day. You're learning it. I'm learning it from the students. You know, you really learn every single day. And the other thing that is really important when you take a step back and you look like, wow, all of these different mentors have different backgrounds, different practice styles. You realize that there's relatability within the room. So for students that may be hesitant to sign up for a course, or they're like, oh, I don't know if these are my people, it's great because you have that wide background and you have all these different people there. That relatability is really cool, and it allows practitioners who maybe only have one view of how their practice should or could look like. It gives them ideas of how they can continually evolve and grow in their practice, which has been really fun.